Well, thank you very much, John, for the introduction. And just want to confirm, are you able to see my screen, my
I
slides?
I can
Yes,
see it. Yeah.
yes.
Can
Okay,
everybody else? Okay.
excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much. It's really is an honor to be here again with the Rotary Club of Winnipeg on Earth Day. It's a real pleasure to be talking about this, especially on a really nice day today. It feels like we really did turn the corner in the season here, particularly today. Um, John, thank you very much for the introduction. And yes, indeed, I will talk today about, I guess, a journey from inner development to sustainable development. And I think you'll get a sense for what I mean by that here as we go. But I think it's good to start here because this is what we're here for. The Artemis missions recently really blessed us with some really nice images of planet Earth. And this, I think, helps us put our minds in the right place for this conversation about Earth Day. And this is the Earthset photograph. And it really is quite remarkable to see a really just thriving planet and a stark contrast to the moon. And it was interesting too, as the Artemis mission or capsule went around the backside of the moon. They caught this image as well of the backside of the moon. Of
No
course,
way.
of course, I'm
Ah,
kidding. Social
ah,
media is
ah.
good for something, if not the humor that it does provide
Ah.
for us. Okay, so that's not an image from Artemis from the dark side. But social media also does provide us with some other sarcastic humor to put things in context. This, of course, is the mock up view of the Milky Way galaxy with our location, planet Earth, pinpointed within the solar system. So, again, social media providing us with a sarcastic backdrop. But I think it's good. It gives us perspective. The Earthset image and this image here also gives us perspective, both broad and local. Um, I think we can all agree that we live on an absolutely incredible planet. The diversity of life, species, animals, cultures, people is really quite astounding. Sometimes it's hard to really put our minds around it, how amazing the planet is and everything that lives on it. Um, I think countries of the world recognize this. And in 2015, all the countries came together to talk about how to sustain that amazing planet that we live on, both in terms of the people that live on it, the species and the plants and the animals that live on it. And for the first time in human history, all countries came together to agree on a set of global goals for sustainable development. It was a remarkable achievement to actually have such agreement, particularly given the division of today, to think back to 2015 when all countries and all leaders of all countries agreed to achieve and pursue such a broad agenda to achieve progress in 17 areas. Now, these are the 17 global sustainable development goals. And unlike last year when I bombarded you with a number of statistics about things, I am going to ask you to each take a couple of minutes now. I'll time it. 2 minutes of just self-reflection. And let's enjoy the silence. Let's embrace the silence. It's not meant to be an uncomfortable silence, but let's take 2 minutes where we just reflect. And I want you to ask two questions. Go through each of the goals, 1 through 17. And at each goal, ask yourself, how is this going globally? How is that goal going globally, do you feel? And then ask yourself, how is that going locally? All right. And do that for each of the 17 goals or issue areas. Take a couple minutes, enjoy the silence, embrace the silence. Actually, start off with a deep breath. That'll get us into the present. So, one really, really big deep breath and hold it. And then exhale. All right, 2 minutes, silent reflection. All right. Thank you for embracing the silence. I think it's worth sort of going through each of those and reflecting globally and also locally. Um, I think everyone is able to relate to several of these, both from a global context and a local context. And um, you're able to get a sense for how you feel things are going in each of these areas. In fact, how it is progressing. So this was a set of goals that were set in 2015 with a number of targets that were to be achieved by the year 2030. And these goals and targets were identified and defined by countries and experts and scientists around the world to get the planet and the people and the species that live on it on a sustainable trajectory, and to preserve ecosystems and to get each of these goals into a state that is reflective of the well-being that we want for everybody on the planet and every living creature. Unfortunately, as of the halfway point, which was a couple of years ago, the Global Sustainable Development Report that is issued by the United Nations remarked that things are far off track in terms of achieving the goals and targets that countries set for themselves. There are, in fact, of 172 targets that lie underneath these 17 goals, there are only a couple a few that are on track to be achieved. And those include things like internet coverage and mobile phone coverage, which is a small part of the whole picture that you see before you. The United Nations They remarked in their progress report that implementation is too slow and even regressing in some areas like climate action, biodiversity loss, and inequality. And that was before the pandemic. And now, since then, there have been a number of setbacks, including in poverty eradication, gender equality, education, and eliminating hunger. So the picture is quite stark. In fact, it's so stark. It has led a number of people and experts around the world to fear that, in fact, we may have skipped a step fundamentally in trying to achieve such a complex plan, a complex set of aspirations for life on Earth. And that step that people fear we skipped was that we skipped what's called inner development. I think the consensus that people around the world are starting to feel is that we know how to solve a lot of these issues. We know what needs to be done. We're just not able to make it happen. And fundamentally, I think what people are realizing is that achieving sustainability, progress, and all of those 17 things that we saw there, it's not a technical problem. Fundamentally, it's not a technical problem. It's not a technical problem like it is to fix a car engine or a plane engine, for that matter. Super complicated, systems, a car engine. But you can get training on how to fix a car engine, and we understand the parts and how they work together, and it can be fixed with knowledge and training. Similarly, things as complicated as heart surgery, very complicated, but in that physiologically, it is understood, and you can be trained to perform heart surgery and successfully complete heart surgery. But achieving goals that deal with reducing inequality or reducing the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, or reducing and eliminating poverty, these involve value system changes. And experts call these adaptive problems. They're not technical problems. They require changes in how we think and how we do. Organizational change experts for businesses kind of sort of intuitively get that and understand that. So that's why there is a whole field of organizational change and behavior. But I think in general, we sort of skipped that whole understanding of human psychology and change, both societal change, organizational change, and individual change, and what is required to achieve and change, both at an inner level to achieve change globally. So we're talking critical mass of people that think and understand complex issues in a certain way. Enter the Inner Development Goals. It's a movement that started a number of years ago, and 1,000 experts from around the world started to craft and this includes human psychology and human development experts, organizational experts from around the world, organizational change experts, educators, are stepping back and just trying to spend time on what it is individually that we need. What are the skills and capacities that we need as individuals, as organizations, and as society to really make progress on such complex issues in society? Okay, so let's march into these inner development goals. And there's 5 of them. In fact, there's 5 areas that I'm going to walk through and we'll reflect on here a bit. There's 25 specific skills. And of course, we won't go through all of them in complete detail on this call, but I think you'll get a kind of a sense for what this is and how it could be quite useful. And you're going to see how, in fact, as Rotarians, a lot of this does come somewhat naturally because of the service, the atmosphere of a service organization. But here's the first one. It's about being. This is the first set of skills, the inner development skills that are required for big outer change in the world. And this is about cultivating our inner life. And there's a number of skills that are talked about that are important from an individual perspective. Having an inner compass, a commitment to live and act in accordance with a set of values, for example. Um, um, it's about integrity and authenticity and being honest and firmly grounded in values. Having an open mind and having a learning mindset, being curious and adaptive, willingness to exchange perspectives. It's about self-awareness, about our own emotions, our own actions and desires, and to maintain sort of a realistic image of ourselves. And it's also about being present, the skill of being present in a situation, in a meeting, in an issue, to be there, to be present with people. These are things that human psychology experts, educators, organizational change experts from around the world come together to kind of see these as important. Now, how many, in looking at these, do you see some of the ways that that we're maybe as Rotarians that we're maybe implementing some of these without really knowing? Any thoughts? Just blurt them out loud if something comes to mind. That the SDG reflection exercise that we just did, the silence exercise, that was an exercise, a purposeful exercise in being present in the situation, to be comfortable in the silence and to spend time to reflect and think. That is a presencing exercise. Anything else jump at you here that maybe we're doing well as Rotarians?
I have a comment.
Please do. Yep.
Openness and learning mindset. As many of you may know, I transferred from one club to this club about 5 years ago. Excuse me. I see a lot of openness and learning mindset in the club that I'm in. I saw almost zero in the club that I was in. So what I'm getting at is, as Rotarians, the framework is there. The framework is there, and the four-way test is there. There's a number of things. But the bottom line is so much of this and many of these things rest within the individual's decision to embrace it or reject it. And
Yes.
therein, I see a big issue there. So there's my thought.
Thanks, John. Openness and bringing us attention to the openness aspect. You mentioned the four-way test. Now that is definitely an inner compass type of skill. So the four-way test that we have as Rotarians, as Rotary International, is really about that whole inner compass aspect and building that. So, for example, we have a compass in Rotary that we ask, of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and build better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? And we try to kind of remind ourselves of that. The invocation that Frank did at the beginning of the meeting and the land acknowledgement, that was an example of our of our awareness, and also helping us become present in this situation, in this meeting that we are coming here to spend together. Another good example is in smudging ceremonies that if you attend an Indigenous gathering or a meeting, many times it will be started with a smudging ceremony. And now we also do that at the Model United Nations Assembly. It is a really amazing experience, a presencing exercise to have everyone sit back and reflect. And an elder will usually help everyone in the room through this smudging exercise also embrace the objective of what is to be accomplished in the meeting and asking everyone to contribute uh, their best to the effort that's in front of them. So these things are happening; they're being practiced, but I think conscious attention to them is really helpful. Okay, I'm conscious of the time, Nancy, and I'll try to kind of move through these a little quicker. We're not going to go through these all in detail, but I just wanted to highlight a few of them. The thinking one, this is the second one. It's called thinking, and it's about understanding your complex world. There are a number of skills, and some of these are skills that are definitely there's training available for them. But it's about critical thinking skills. It's about perspectives, ability to learn from diverse perspectives. It's about systems thinking and making connections. It's about imagining the long term and also the immediate term. And it's about being creative outside of conventional thinking, out of the box type thinking. Now, I want to just give just a little example of this. And we'll take just a couple minutes on this. I want you to, okay, let's start off. Let's take our deep breath again. I want us to all be kind of present in this little exercise. So take a deep breath in, hold it, and then exhale. Pay attention to your breath. Okay. So now I want you to imagine two imaginary friends with you right now. Bring two imaginary people into this room beside you in your room. The first person, think of someone, the youngest person that you know, that you care for deeply, the youngest person that you know, and you probably care for or love that person. Imagine that person is right there beside you, sitting beside you to your left. Now, also imagine the oldest person that you know. And it can't be yourself. Imagine the oldest person that you know and that you care for, and imagine that person sitting to your right. All right? So your eyes are closed and you're imagining these two people are in the room with you. Now, I want you to imagine if the oldest person, your oldest person that's sitting to your right, was as young as the youngest person sitting to your left. So imagine the oldest person was as young as the youngest person on your left. What was the world like then? What do you think the world was like then at that person's age when he was that young? Was it better than it was now? In what ways do you think it was better? In what ways was it maybe worse when that person was that age? That's going back now decades. Okay. It's interesting to think back in thinking even in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals. What were those 17 things like back decades and decades ago? Now, imagine that the youngest person that you care for that's sitting beside you on the left now is as old as the person that is on your right. Now we're looking decades into the future. Now, the youngest person to your left is now as old as the oldest person. What type of world would you like to see for that person, for the youngest person that you love and care for? How will those 17 Sustainable Development Goals ideally look like for the young person that is now older? It's an interesting exercise, and I asked you to do that because it's an example of a long-term visioning exercise. It's a backcasting or a hindsight and a foresight type of exercise. And these things, there are ways and the techniques to do these things that can help us really develop new sort of ways of thinking. All right, so relating is another skill. So this is the third one. And this is all about caring for others and in the world, connecting with kindness, compassion, sense of shared belonging. And there are really a number of things that may seem intangible things, but these are skills that actually can be built. It's appreciation. It's about relating to people, to the planet with a deep sense of gratitude. It's about feeling a sense of belonging, connectedness to a larger whole, to other people, to the planet itself. It's about humility. It's also about how having more and better and nuanced empathy and compassion, connecting to others, to oneself, to nature. And it's also about forgiveness, willingness to transcend hostility, working through trauma, creating spaces for healing. These are things that don't always come natural to everyone, but there are ways to build these types of skills and enhance them. Now, I just want to touch very briefly on, that's the relating one. One really good skill of this is called the bubble challenge. And so if you want to take on the bubble challenge, by next week, try to arrange a lunch with someone that you know that really doesn't quite agree with, the way you think in certain areas and issues. And just try to sit down and have lunch and talk with that person without judgment. Understand, talk about things and just understand each other. That's called the bubble challenge. Gets us out of our box and just gets to know other people. And that's a technique to that. Okay, collaborating, of course, this is an important part. Building trust and working together. Okay, it's hard to imagine any progress on any major complex issue like reducing inequality or reducing and eliminating poverty without really building trust and working together. It's about relationship building skills. It's about inclusive mindsets and intercultural competence. It's about the ability and skills to co-create with groups. It's about communication skills. It's about how to mobilize and inspire groups. And one really good example of this was actually a few weeks back. It was a workshop that was done here in Winnipeg by the Conflict and Resilience Research Institute of Canada. One of our Rotarian members, Kauser, is who leads this. And that organization led a workshop here in Winnipeg at the Human Rights Museum, in fact, called the Indigenous-Led Arctic Sovereignty and Climate Security in a Shifting U.S.-Canada Strategic Landscape. Fascinating. I had the pleasure of being able to participate in that workshop that brought together high-ranking military officials that had mandate for security in the Arctic, meeting together with community elders from communities in the far north and also in Manitoba to talk about these issues. Climate change, how is climate change affecting the world up north? How are these relate to security and sovereignty in the north? So that was a wonderful, bringing different people together. It was about co-creating and intercultural mindsets. Anyways, these things can be consciously pursued in the context of complex issues. And finally, just to end things off here, acting is obviously the final big fifth kind of skill area, leading and enabling change. It's about the courage to pursue change. It's about maintaining hope and optimism when it doesn't look like there should be any or can be any. It's about conscious use of our resources, the limited resources on the planet, and avoiding harmful activities. It's about being proactive, and it's about stick-withedness and resilience. These are all skills that experts around the world are really pushing for, and fear that we missed attention to this in trying to achieve such a lofty goals of about our human condition on the planet. And it's an effort that's really gaining traction. Of course, this is a view to all of the 5 areas and roughly 25 skill areas of inner development for outer change in the world. And it's something that I am spending more of my time on now. I do a lot of technical engineering advice and consulting as well, but I am shifting more and more of my time to this area of work that helps individuals and organizations really build inner skills. And how do we scale a lot of this type of action around in our society to kind of create the types of big change needed in the world? So that's the inner development goals. You can scan the barcode with your phone if you just take a picture of that. Not a picture of it, if you just hold your camera up to that. And if you've done this before and you click the little yellow part on your camera, then it'll just go directly to that website. But if not, you can just Google inner development goals and you'll go right to the website. I don't want to leave you without things to read. The author of this book, Thomas Bjorkman, was one of the catalysts of the Inner Development Goals Foundation that is leading this change globally. His book, The World We Create, is now just 10 years old this year. And the book is about how the world we create, from God to science to market, and these different phases of human evolution that have that have kind of placed emphasis on how these things have guided the world. If you're trying to make sense of the world we live in, this is a crucial book to read. It's also available in a free audiobook form on YouTube as well. And you could scan those barcodes as well, and it'll take you right to the websites. Now, if you're not a nonfiction reader, I would be remiss to not suggest this wonderful fiction novel called Towers of Hiva. I packaged this novel, the labor of love, over many years, and you will see the Sustainable Development Goals make a cameo appearance in the latter stages of this novel, as you will also hear about the inner development goals in the very later stages of this novel, as in the epilogue. It's a fictional sort of sense making of what has happened in the world historically and what's happening in the world now, and trying to make sense of it from an account of 2 actual true to life situations. So it's a realistic fiction novel. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with the Rotary Club of Winnipeg and to be a member here. Thank you, merci, miigwech. Happy Earth Day, everybody.